Hello and welcome today. Sula Systems is here checking out Chattanooga City's ordinance number 13839. This has to do with accessory dwelling units. I'm going to read it. It came out May 24th last year, 2022. Uh, that was its first reading. Second reading, May 31st. I'll hop right into screen share of the document and begin reading. All right. An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, Zoning Ordinance, by adding Article 17, Accessory Dwelling Units, Section 38-764 through 38-771. Whereas the comprehensive plan prioritizes the need for a greater variety of housing types, including both rental and homeownership opportunities, and whereas the Hamilton County Chattanooga real estate market trends analysis lists 40% of the next decade's market rate demand is for rental housing, and accessory dwelling units are an appropriate rental housing type. And whereas many adopted land use plans, including the MLK Community Plan, South Broad Final Plan, Area 3, and St. Elmo Community Plan, recommend changing the zoning ordinance to allow accessory dwelling units and garage apartments. And whereas there has been a request for the community during a public process for more infill housing choices like accessory dwelling units. Whereas accessory dwelling units can provide new housing units without changing the character of established neighborhoods and allow for more efficient use of existing housing stock and infrastructure. And whereas Chapter 38 zoning regulations currently do not provide a permitted land use for accessory dwelling units except for the form-based code boundary, and to be ordained by the City Council of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Section 1, the Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, be amended by adding Article 17, allowing dwelling unit. Article 17, accessory dwelling units, Sections 38-764 through 38-771 as follows. Article 17, accessory dwelling units. Intent. It is the intent of this section to provide regulations for the development of accessory dwelling units, also called ADUs, in a manner which provides the efficient use of land and small-scale infill development in residential areas. It is further intended that these regulations provide for standards which will foster compatibility with surrounding development and minimize impacts of new accessory dwelling units on neighboring properties. ADUs are intended to increase overall supply and range of housing options in Chattanooga while maintaining the residential character of neighborhoods. ADUs are intended as accessory uses to single-family detached dwellings. Are intended as accessory uses. Nice. Applicability. The provisions of this article shall apply to detached and attached ADUs located in any zone district where single-family detached dwellings are a permitted use. ADUs are only permitted as an accessory to a single-family dwelling when constructed on the same lot as the single-family detached dwelling. The provision of this article do not apply to properties located in form-based code boundary as described in Article 16, Downtown Form-Based Code. This ordinance does not supersede homeowner association rules or local historic district guidelines regarding ADUs or additional accessory structures. The City of Chattanooga is Not responsible for enforcing deed restrictions or homeowner association covenants. Section 38766, Review. The Regional Planning Agency will conduct an annual review of the standards and review process. Any recommendation to changes to the standard will be presented to the Planning Commission and City Council for consideration and action. The annual review will only be required for the first year of the ordinance adoption. Section 38767, Permitted Uses. Accessory dwelling units shall be a permitted use in any zone that allows single-family detached dwellings. ADUs may occupy conforming existing accessory structures or lawfully created non-conforming primary residential detached structures. No more than one ADU shall be permitted in conjunction with a principal dwelling unit. ADUs cannot be permitted in association with a townhouse, duplex, or condominium unit. Section 38768, Ownership. The ADU shall be owned by the same property owner as the principal dwelling unit and cannot be subdivided or otherwise separated in ownership such that the ADU is located on a different lot than the principal dwelling unit. Under no circumstances shall the ADU be converted to a horizontal ownership regime or a fee simple condo. Horizontal or but that means like levels of the building. Section 38769, Height and Area Regulations. Height for detached ADU when the height of the principal dwelling unit is more than 1 story is 24 feet or 2-story maximum. Height for a detached ADU when the principal unit is 1 story. The maximum height of the detached ADU shall be no more than 24 feet when measured at the peak of the roof for all roof types. Detached ADUs shall not exceed the maximum height of the zone district and cannot exceed the height of the principal dwelling unit. Seems to be contradictory. Height for the detached ADU shall, when the principal dwelling unit is 1 story, the maximum height of the detached ADU shall be no more than 24 feet when measured at the peak overall for all types. Well, I guess if it's 1 story, the height might be more, but even if the height's more than 24 feet and it's still 1 story, you can't go past 24 feet. Makes sense. Alright. Number of units. 1 ADU unit is permitted per single-family detached dwelling per lot. Location. ADU must be located on the same lot as the principal dwelling unit. Detached ADUs shall be located in the rear or side yard only. Detached ADUs are not permitted in the front yard setback. Attached ADUs must meet the minimum setback requirements as required for a principal structure in the zoning district. Size/massing. Detached. The maximum size of an ADU shall not exceed a gross square footage of 700 square feet. This is measured by the exterior dimensions of the building. Alright. Let me see. Sleeping lofts and interior stairwells are also added into this square footage. Sleeping lofts and interior stairwells. That's interesting. Alright. Attached new construction. The maximum size of an ADU shall not exceed a gross square footage of 700 square feet. This is measured by the exterior dimensions of the building. Sleeping lofts and interior stairwells that are air conditioned are also added to this square footage. ADU conversion. The ADU must meet the minimum standards, including 700 square feet including 700 square feet in size if an existing portion of the single-family dwelling or detached accessory structure is to be converted to an ADU. Minimum lot area, none. Setbacks. Detached ADU, primary street front, not permitted in the front setback of the principal dwelling unit. Side street minimum, 10 foot. Side common lot line slash alley, 5 foot minimum. Rear street, 10 foot minimum. Rear common lot line slash alley, 5 foot minimum. Makes sense, nice. Attached ADU must maintain the setback requirements of the underlying zoning for district for of the underlying zoning district for principal structures. Density. ADU shall not be considered a dwelling unit for the purpose of determining maximum density where there is a density requirement in a zone or planning unit development. Be considered a dwelling unit for the purpose of determining the maximum density when there is a density requirement in a zone or planned unit development. Okay. Pedestrian access. ADUs shall have a safe, direct, and convenient pedestrian access connecting the street to the ADU building entrance when required by the Director of Land Development Office or their designee. Interesting. Parking. There's no minimum on-site parking requirements for ADUs. Existing required parking for accessory dwelling units must be maintained or replaced on-site if parking is lost due to the creation of the ADU. Home occupation. Home occupations shall be allowed in the ADU or principal dwelling unit, but only home occupation one home occupation is permitted per lot. Design. Shipping containers and recreational vehicles shall not be permitted as an ADU. The ADU must have a permanent foundation, either through digging and pouring a footer or being attached to an existing permanent structure. ADUs must follow all design standards applicable to single-family detached houses. For attached ADUs, an exterior staircase used to access an ADU shall not be located on the front facade of the structure. The ADU must have a separate entrance located on the side yard or rear yard. An entrance at the front of the principal dwelling is allowable if it is a single entrance door for both the principal dwelling and the accessory dwelling unit. A front-facing entrance solely for the ADU is allowed if the entrance door existed before the adoption of the ordinance. A separate entrance must lead directly to the outside and cannot be through a garage. Section 38-770. Non-conforming historic accessory dwelling units. Non-conforming or existing ADUs that were constructed prior to the adoption of these regulations may continue to exist and will be considered legal units if they are brought up to all applicable building, fire, and municipal codes as required by the Land Development Office. Section 38-771. Definitions. Attached accessory dwelling unit. An additional subordinate dwelling unit located on the same principal lot as a principal dwelling unit, which is joined to another dwelling at one or more sides by a wall, or contained entirely within the footprint of the principal dwelling unit. Examples include converted living spaces, attached garages, basements, or attics, additions, or combination thereof. Detached accessory dwelling units, an additional subordinate dwelling located on the same lot as a principal dwelling unit and is a standalone separate structure. This can include an existing garage or other accessory structure detached from the principal dwelling unit that is legally converted or partially to an accessory dwelling unit. Principal dwelling unit. The larger of the two dwellings on the property is measured by the building footprint. Section 2. Be it further ordained that this ordinance shall take effect 2 weeks from and after its passage. Passed on second and final reading, May 31, 2002. What do you know, folks? What do you know? Alright, well, that is ordinance number 13839. Thank you for listening as I learn and document. Have a good one.